Welcome to the Small Business Tax Savings Podcast, powered by Jetro. Each week, we bring extremely valuable accounting and tax tips specific to small business owners. You will be on your way to growing your business and putting more money in your pockets. Here's your host.
Hello, listeners, and welcome back to another episode. On today's episode, we're going to continue this talk on coronavirus, and today we're going to be specifically talking about planning and expense cutting. Now, before we get into that, this episode is brought to you by Jetro, a digital accounting firm servicing business owners across the country, helping them relieve stress around financials and save thousands in taxes. I am your host and founder of Jetro, Mike Jesowshek. So as I mentioned, today we're going to be talking about planning and expense cutting around the coronavirus. And the first thing that I want to talk about is that as we have a time of uncertainty, we need to start planning. We need to start thinking about what you're going to do in your business if we hit certain benchmarks. And so what I call this is the good, the bad, the ugly planning. So we need to just and this could be something you just write down on a piece of paper. It can be a quick exercise if you don't have the resources to put a lot of time into this right now, but at least have an idea on where you're going with your business if this delays to certain points. So we're going to call it the good, the bad, the ugly planning. The good planning might be business shut down for 3 weeks. What are we going to do to maintain, and what are sales going to look like, if any? What are sales going to look like during that time? And what changes are we going to make to survive those 3 weeks? The bad planning might be 2 months. What do we need to implement in our business today to survive 2 months if this coronavirus and business shutdown lasts that long? And let's start planning around that. If we hit certain benchmarks, let's say, we're to 1 month. Now we need to start, cutting costs in employees. We need to reduce pay. We need to let go of some employees that aren't going to be necessary in our business. Whatever that might be, start planning. Start kind of envisioning where your sales are going to go if the bad plan is the one that is actually reality. And then the ugly, 3-4 months or more. What does your business look like at that point? When do you not need to start getting funding? How long can your cash reserves maintain? And if you get to that point where the cash reserves are no longer there, what are you going to do in your business to continue surviving? So again, this is what we call the good, the bad, and the ugly planning. Look at these various scenarios and make decisions today on what your business is going to do at various benchmarks so that when that time comes, you're not scrambling. You know exactly what you're doing. You know exactly what actions you have to take, likely very tough actions, but you have them decided upon ahead of time. When you're doing these plannings, look at that revenue, look at that sales number and see where it's going to go. Some businesses may be shut down completely. Other business may be running at half the revenue that they were before. So do that number, run that, with that planning, run that kind of number to see where you're going to be on the sales side. And then expense side, look at all of your expenses. See where you can start cutting expenses. Right now, cash flow for most businesses is going to likely decrease. So when you're doing your planning, think of ways that you can maintain that cash as much as possible for as long as possible to get through this fight. Now, when we look at this coronavirus, there is an endpoint. This isn't something that likely it's not going to happen. It's not going to go on for years. So there is an endpoint. If we look at other countries that have gone through what we're in right now, they hit a peak where they then start to open up businesses back up. So there is an endpoint. It's just determining what that endpoint is, which we don't know, but we can plan for it so that we know what actions we're taking when we get to certain spots. And finding ways on how we can fight to that endpoint to where business start to open up and things come back to normal. So again, right now, cash flow for most businesses is likely going to decrease. So when you're doing this planning, think of ways that you can combat that, as well as look on the revenue side, the sales side. Think of things that you can implement in your business to help that sales side. So when we look at cutting expenses, go down the line of your income statement and see what types of items you can cut, especially if your business is closing doors temporarily. So go down that line and say, business, our doors are closed. So what are expenses on these line items that I can cut, that we can reduce right now and bring back later? If you cannot cut them completely, is there ways that you can downgrade them? So let's look at software accounts, for example. Is there any type of software package that you're paying a monthly fee for that you can move down a package? So instead of being on the platinum, can you move to the premium? Or instead of being on the premium, can you move to the standard? Is there ways that you can move down a package temporarily while you may not need that service as much right now, and then you can upgrade back to it when your business comes back alive and things start to come to normal operations? So go down that line of your income statement and look at each and every expense and see what items that you can cut today, reduce, or cut completely until this time passes. And make a note of those. Start to cut them. Start to call on those items. Make a note so that when things do open back up, you know which items you can then start to turn back on if you need them. This is a great time in your business to look at expense cutting because it's forced upon you. And so there might be items, there might be fat that can be cut now that you might not need down the road. This is the time to start evaluating that. Try to slow down any outgoing cash and negotiate any bills that you think are possible for negotiable. So reach out to loan providers and see if you can move to an interest only for a period of time. Many loan providers are doing this, many are not, but it doesn't hurt to ask. And don't just ask once, ask this week, ask next week. Reach out, call them, see if there's anything that they can do to help ease that movement of cash outside of your account. See if you can get delays on rent payments and regular items that you have. See if you can delay them. See if you can pay half today and catch up once business opens up. Everybody is going through a hard time. So everybody needs to start doing these cuttings. And so it's going to be tough to try to negotiate this. And it's a tough thing to bring to people that you need to pay. But just give them the outline of kind of where you are right now. Your goal is to slow the outgo of cash. You want to maintain cash as much as possible so we can weather the storm. And then when things open back up, we can replenish everything, pay off the people that we had reduced payments for. So reach out to people. It never hurts to ask. Now, when we look at funding, the SBA is giving out disaster relief loans, and so this might be a great time to gather a loan, or at least start applying for a loan in case you need those funds. I'm going to go through some of the items related to these SBA loans, so you have an idea of kind of what is involved in an SBA loan. Basically, to qualify for one, you need good credit history. And you also need to be able to demonstrate the ability to repay the loan. And you also need to be able to prove eligibility from an economic loss due to this coronavirus. So if you meet those qualifications, you can apply for the loan. The loan amounts are up to $2 million based on the size and type of your business. So likely most businesses, at least the listeners here, are probably not going to get that $2 million. But based on the type and size of your business, will determine what the loan amount is. The repayment terms, it's a 3.75% interest rate with terms that go up to 30 years. So that you can really spread this out if you're struck for cash right now today. You can use the funds on fixed debts, payroll, and accounts payable. Now, it's important to note that these loans are not designed to replace lost sales or profits. So you can use these to pay for fixed debts, payroll, and accounts payable. As far as collateral, loans over $25,000 require the business and real estate collateral if available. So just keep that in mind. If you're looking for over $25,000, there will be some collateral that's needed. And the application filing requirements, you can go directly on the SBA website, fill out the loan application. They're going to ask for some other documents. So make sure you look at kind of a list of things that are needed so you can prepare them prior to applying for the loan. But that's basically how SBA loans work. They're designed to help businesses out in a time of disaster. So a disaster relief type loan. Again, these are SBA loans. You need good credit history. You need to be able to prove eligibility from economic loss. You can loan up to $2 million based on the size and type of your business. And that loan is at a 3.75% interest rate with terms up to 30 years. So keep that in mind. There's likely also going to be a stimulus package that is going to be passed if it hasn't already been by the time of this recording. It's going to be important to take advantage of things that the government is putting out there. So keep up to date about those things. We also have created a web page or a blog page to give you updates on various things that are going on. So check out that website. I'm going to put a link in the show notes where you can go to our website and see links to things that are available to business owners and just guidance that various sources are putting out on the internet. If the SBA loan is maybe something that you're not quite interested at this point, think about a credit card. There are a lot of zero interest for a certain time period credit cards that you can use for a short-term funding issue. So if you have just a small amount that maybe a credit card would help, look for a zero interest credit card and see if maybe that's an option if you do not want to go down the SBA loan route. So again, what I want to talk about today is, first off, planning. You need to have a plan in place so that you know when you hit certain benchmarks, you know what your business is going to do. Whether that's laying off employees, whether that's stopping paying of rent, saying you're out of cash, we can't do it. We need to plan ahead of this so that we're better prepared when that time comes. And think of ways that you can cut costs. Go down your income statement, every single line item, and find things that you can cut. If your business isn't operational right now, there's likely a lot of things that you can cut. If your business is operational, but just you want to run on more of a thin margin, there's likely other things you can cut, maybe just not as much. And when you're looking at cutting, it doesn't have to be an all or nothing type cut. Look into those expenses and maybe see if there's things that you can downgrade, move to a lower package until we fight this storm and get through it, and then you can bump it back up. A lot of times that's on the software side. So you might be able to, instead of paying $500 a month for a software, you might be able to downgrade to the $250 a month package, lose a few features that you might not be taking advantage of during this time anyways, and then upgrade back up once you get out of the storm. Again, there's resources on the site. I'm going to include a link in the show notes with a link to that website that we have that we're continuously updating as more information becomes available. Just a reminder, some of the items that we already have on there. The IRS extending the due date to 7/15. So IRS for personal payments and filing is now July 15th. There's an article on that from the IRS website on there. We also have a link to the Zero Small Business Resource Hub. A lot of good information about small businesses and how they should be combating this coronavirus. We also have a bunch of links from Gusto. So we talk about, one of the links is about the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. There's loan and relief resources, state employer resources, and a guide to navigating the coronavirus. So I have links to all of those on the website. I also have a link to the SBA site for small business guidance and loan resources. And then on the health side, not necessarily specific to businesses, but if you're looking to gain more information about where we're at with this coronavirus and every kind of news that we have on the health piece, I also have a link to the Johns Hopkins Coronavirus Resource Center. So check out those links. Again, I'm going to be continuously updating them. I'm also going to be updating our Facebook group as we hear more. So every time new information comes, new links are sent, we're going to be putting posts in our Facebook group. So this is a great time to join our Facebook group, which is Small Business Tax Secrets. Just look on Facebook and we can add you in there. And then finally, before I wrap up here, as a reminder, we're also still running our giving initiative until the end of March. So for every podcast review we receive, we'll be donating meals to the homeless. This is a great opportunity for you as a listener to join us in this charitable giving initiative. We do this with our clients based on the amount of tax returns we do, and we wanted to bring in this opportunity for you as listeners to be a part of this giving initiative. All you have to do is leave a review and comment on iTunes related to our podcast. I want to thank you all for continuing to listen to this podcast. Stay safe, everyone. And if there's anything I can do, please reach out. And we're going to continue to keep discussions on this coronavirus and things that you can do as a business owner to try to fight it and get through this so that we can all see each other on the other end. Thanks again for listening to another episode, and I will see you guys next week. Now, one last thing before I go. Don't forget to check out our podcast website at www.taxsavingspodcast.com. That's taxsavingspodcast.com. This is a great resource to go and check out our most recent episodes, as well as find extra items if you want to take what we discuss here and dive deeper. Again, also join our Facebook group where we share tons of value and you have the opportunity to bring situations you are faced with to the table, and we'll help you out in that Facebook group, and other business owners will support you as well. You can join by simply searching in Facebook for the Small Business Tax Secrets group. Again, it's a Facebook group called Small Business Tax Secrets, and there should be a group that pops up that you can join.
This has been another episode of the Small Business Tax Savings Podcast from the team at Jetro. If you enjoy our weekly episodes, please leave a review on whatever platform you listen to us on and share with other business owners. If you have any questions or future topics you want to hear, email them to tax@jetrotax.com. Thanks for listening and have a great day.